Hello and welcome to Talkin Baseball. Carlos Correa, Giants great, is now a New York Met. Uncle Steve, players only. Woo! Wow. Hello and welcome back to Talkin Baseball, presented to you by SeatGeek. Code Talkin, $20 off your first SeatGeek order. Go see Carlos Correa's former team, the San Francisco Giants, play the New York Mets on the first day of the season. Opening day 23, Mets-Giants, must watch. Carlos Correa is a Met. Aaron Judge, the Yankees captain, 16th Yankees captain in history. Number 17 right here, Jake Storielli, and my guy getting nasty in Calabasas, Trevor Plouffe Juice. How you doing, big dog?
You know, usually I wake up and I feel good. I take a look over, I see Olivia. I'm like, dude, life is all right,
Nice.
you know? This morning was a little different. I woke up to a text from our guy Kyle. Our group chat was popping, and Kyle was like, he said something, but it was blurry, and I was still kind of half asleep. And bam, you get hit with this freaking news. What was going? Scott Boras doesn't sleep?
No, what's that about?
He's up negotiating. Are you kidding me? Carlos Correa to the Mets, 300 M's, Giants, see you later. You made a good effort. I mean, is there a bigger what is you doing, baby, than the San Francisco Giants offseason right now? I mean, I feel for this fan base. I think I want to start saying I am sorry to San Francisco Giants fans. You had John Heyman giving you false information. And then you had Carlos Correa on your team. We did an episode, Jake.
Yeah.
We said the rivalry between the Dodgers and the Giants is going to be off the charts. Carlos Correa is the perfect villain in San Francisco. He looks good in orange. You're damn right he looks good in orange, but it ain't going to be the orange and black. Oh, my gosh, he's a Met. And you know what? Credit Uncle Stevie. He smelled blood in the water, and the dude's a shark. He went after it. My goodness.
I mean, in the past 24 hours, basically, we got a tweet that was like, there's no timetable for Correa's presser. There's some questions about his physical, which that's still the greatest unknown of all of this, which is Correa from the start, his free agency last year. We've heard rumors about his back. People are saying it's not his back, but we still know nothing about the physical. And our guy, we should give Brother Jeff credit. He's got an article with a lot of the big questions, if you're wondering kind of how this all went down, because they did agree to terms, and what does that mean? And can you still negotiate with other teams if you agree to terms? And basically it's, until pen hits paper, kind of like how real life kind of works, you're not. And Carlos Correa, although it was announced that he would be a San Francisco Giant, he's going to Uncle Steve Cohen's Mets. And I think we circle up on the Giants, Trev, because I think we could talk about what's next for them, because you're right, we did do a full episode about, I like the fit and offense and defense, and Crawford slides to third, right? We'll see what their plan is. The New York Mets, Carlos Correa, who has an argument that he was the best shortstop available of this amazing shortstop crop, both sides of the ball, platinum glove. The hitting stats are better than I'd remembered. If you go and check out his baseball reference, the dude's put together a couple big boy seasons. The youngest of the shortstops, 28, but maybe he's not a shortstop anymore, Trev. I think he's the Mets' third baseman next to his PR teammate, Frankie Lindor. That's nuts, man. A-Rod.
You know I love Cuban ball players. I also love Puerto Rican ball players. Get you Eddie Rosario on this team stat, please. Okay, listen, I do want to touch on the agent and negotiating thing, because typically what happens is, you're negotiating with the team, and even when you actually come to terms with a team, you really want to keep it a secret so you can go tell the other teams that you were talking to, look, we're out, we're going to sign this, because the agents do want to have a good relationship with these front offices. They represent a lot of players. They want to be able to talk to these people and like be respected. But once the team side comes out and says, the physical is not exactly where we want it, it opens up the floodgate. You can go talk to other teams. If you think that contract that you agreed to in terms is in jeopardy, which it was, I don't think it's the least bit shady or, a bad business practice to go back out and see what you got there. And that's what happened. And like Jeff said in his article, the Mets did make that last attempt at Correa, and that's proved to be the difference. And now he's a Met, man. It's just what a world we're living in right now, Uncle Stevie. The payroll is going to be close to 500 M's with the luxury tax.
And guess what? He doesn't care.
He doesn't give a shit.
It's nothing. Beers might go up $1 at City this year, up in Trev's Queen, Flushing, New York.
Yeah. That's something to track. I'd like to track that.
I want to do the best. I want to do the fun baseball stuff with the Mets. I want that to loop into, because I talked about it a little bit on Wake and Jake, Trev, but the effect of an owner and what Steve is doing and what this is going to do to the other owners, because holy smokes. But first, Mets baseball. Nimmo, was he going to leave? Nope, he's back. He got re-upped. He'll be hitting leadoff for you. Correa Lindor, your left side of Team Puerto Rico, your left side of the Mets, two $300 million players. One of the slickest switch hitting shortstops, one of the slickest righty shortstops with one of the most powerful arms we've ever seen in Major League Baseball. He'll be going to third base. Pete Alonso. Again, check out that baseball reference. Big boy numbers only. Jeff McNeil squirreling it around. Starling Marte, who they brought in last year. We're going to have Mark Canha, who they brought in last year. They just brought in Omar Narvaez. We mentioned it barely because it was like, and a catcher for $7.5 million? That'd be some team's biggest free agent this year. Vogelback listed as DH. Darren Ruff is still there. Is that your DH platoon? Eddie Escobar is a floater. Guillorme is a floater. They got big prospects. Brett Beatty. They've got Francisco Alvarez. Your pitching staff. Verlander, Scherzer, Senga, Carrasco, Quintana. Trev, this whole free agency started, the first move of free agency, they gave Edwin Diaz, a closer, $100 million.
Looking at this lineup, okay, now, and Francisco Alvarez kind of is a wild card to me, too, because this dude is an offensive-minded catcher. I think he can throw the shit out of the ball, too. But the reports that you typically hear about him are massive pop from the backstop. And if you I know we have Omar Narvaez here, but if you kind of add that bat in there as well, we're talking the lineup is like 9 deep. Right now, Fangraphs has Mark Canha hitting 8th for you. Mark Canha is a really good big league hitter, dude.
Yeah.
And to think about there's so many things right here. Let me just go over this, okay? There's balance in the lineup. Left-handers, there's right-handers. Your bench pieces, like having Eddie Escobar on your bench and the fact that he can play kind of a bunch of different positions and he's a switch hitter and can give you good at-bats from both sides, like their lineup and their defense is set. You talked about the starting rotation. That's set. The bullpen. David Robertson, to me, I sing this guy's praises all the time. Like he's going to be like kind of like a middle high leverage guy for them, maybe like 6th inning type guy. You talked about Edwin Diaz. It's like the porridge, bro. This team, not too young. Not a lot of rookies on this team. Maybe splash in one behind the plate, maybe. Not too old either. Yeah, you got Verlander. This team is just right. All sitting right 29, 30, 31, like experience. You got Buck Showalter at the helm. You got an owner that's clearly not afraid to spend any money. The franchise right now, you can't be in a better place than the New York Mets right now. You just can't.
They've got those two top 50 prospects who are MLB ready, and I think that's important because, you can go around the league, and you see a guy who's ranked 21st top prospect, but expected MLB time is 2025. That's we'll see you when we see you. I wonder if the Mets are going to try to trade those guys in and upgrade somewhere else. Do you keep those guys around as the youth, so when injuries and stuff do happen, they'll get their chance, and then you might have just stumbled into another young piece for your team. I mean, it's become like an internet joke, and it does crack me up when you do something boring and you say life is a movie. For Mets fans, life's a movie right now. We just got the richest owner. He's blowing through the own tax that got made up like in his honor. This is unreal. The New York Mets, like for the last 30 years of like TV and cinema, if you made like a punchy Mets joke, everyone got it. It's over.
Are Uncle Stevie and is it Siler who owns the Padres?
I think so.
Are they just like boys being like, hey, let's fuck the system up? Because both these teams, Padres and the Mets, if you go back, I don't know, 3 or 4 years, like they're middling, right? We had a shirt out, Metsy as it getsy. Padres are like kind of this team that no one really talks about because they play on the West Coast and they're not the Dodgers. Both these teams have just went out and said, fuck it, dude. Like there's good players available. Oh, we'll take them.
Yeah.
And they really have like put the other owners on notice. If you want a free agent, so do we. And you better pay up. And they've been setting the market. I'm very curious to see where this goes because we've never seen spending like this before in baseball. We just haven't. Not at this level, not concentrated around, one owner with these new taxes and everything. I mean, it's unprecedented what's happening right now. And you're right, man. If you're a Mets fan, holy shit.
Yeah, I mean, I know some Braves fans. Our guy Peter Moylan had a couple tweets this morning, a little on edge. I mean, you were in the middle of, we were talking like Braves potential dynasty, right? And now your toughest matchup might be in your division. And by the way, you lost your first baseman and shortstop that got you that ring. I mean, Braves fans don't really care because they'll still be the Mets until they're not to the Braves. But your division is stacked. The Phillies, who just went to the World Series, they signed Trey Turner and Ty Walker, which we haven't really talked about. The Nats went full rebuild, but by the way, like they're a team that can build up that payroll, and we've seen it. I mean, the Nats, when they paid for Strasburg and Scherzer, they were paying dudes. Someone mentioned the Marlins in my comments this morning, and they were like, man, that sucks. And I was like, you know what? It does and it doesn't. Because we're talking Miami. Trev, the moment the WBC got mentioned there, I got text from you and Joe's McFly saying, we're going. Miami's an awesome city. Miami bumps. Miami slaps. There's money in Miami. The San Diego Padres, if they can go and ball out and bring in the dudes they've brought in the past few years, Miami Marlins, it comes down to ownership, man. And I wonder the ripple effects this has across the league because the Miami Marlins right now cannot compete in the National League East. Straight up.
People like rare things, okay? Especially people that have billions of dollars. They like rare things. They like having things that other people can't have. You know what's rare? An MLB franchise. There's only 30 of them in the world, okay? And if you have a chance to own a franchise in a big city and like leave your mark, that's what these guys are looking for. And I think there's going to be some billionaires that aren't in the game right now. They're looking at Steve and be like, you've made yourself. Like, I'm sure he was popular in New York circles just because of the amount of money he had and what he can do in the power, whatever. He never could have dreamed how popular he is in New York right now. And that's something that typically money can't buy. But if you buy a baseball team and you do what he's doing, it can buy that. I think the social aspect of this is going to come into play. We're going to see some people off the field looking to buy into MLB because it's just rare.
Yeah.
I think this is going to change sports ownership, the way this has gone down.
I I want to give credit to Bill Simmons. He's obviously like a legend in the sports game. He got me once because he opened my eyes up to that the Golden State Warriors, with everything they've done, and obviously, Steph Curry, they didn't fully know. They kind of stumbled into something there, but they've turned into the Golden State Warriors. They got an arena in San Francisco. This is also a time in San Francisco where that place has boomed, and we'll get to the Giants in a second. But Silicon Valley and like everything that's happened in the Bay Area over the past couple years. But guess what? The Warriors owner, he owns the Golden State Warriors, and he gets to tell all those tech nerds, like, hey, that's cool. I own the Warriors. And, man, you're absolutely right, and I hope sports start going that way because there's too many teams, and you can name them, and I won't, but too many teams that view it as a business and an asset, but not as a competitive, fun thing. Steve Cohen wants to go out and win and be kind of famous and be the big dog at the table, and let's roll it out there. There's a few MLB franchises and other franchises, too, that, like you've said, owning a sports team is very profitable. Not necessarily how they show the books in their bottom line every year, but if you go to sell that franchise you bought for $200 million in '93, and you can sell it for $2.5 billion now, guess what? You just made a couple doll hairs there. And I hope with how much money is in the world and everything, we get a couple of those owners out, flip that house, sell it, and bring me the Mark Cuban types.
I think we're going to see that.
Give me the guys who want to compete. And, the Miami Marlins, think about our mindset from the start since they became a team. It's like, oh, well, Miami, they're prospects. They bring them up, and they had a couple winning years, and then they trade them before they get there. And, Miami, they never pay for players. They had that 1 year when they wanted to get the new stadium and show the fans that they were going for it, that they got a bunch of free agents, and then they traded them away. If Mark Cuban bought the Miami Marlins tomorrow, they could be one of the highest payroll teams, and they probably would be. And, man, fan bases are going to start clamoring for their Uncle Steve. Imagine being the rich guy. Imagine being Cincinnati's famous billionaire. Imagine being the Pittsburgh billionaire and the Pirates are for sale, and you can become what Steve Cohen is becoming. Yeah, man. And, give me it. Give me all of it.
I don't know what's going on with my microphone. I got some light coming in here. It's on fire because we're talking hot ball right now. Listen, I think credit to Steve, 100%. But you can also say, look, it's New York, of course. Like that's what New York's the owner of a New York franchise is supposed to do. I think the Padres doing what they're doing is almost like more shocking to the baseball world than what Steve Cohen is doing. I know what the payroll is, and it's obviously very shocking and awesome to see him. But the fact that the Padres can go out and spend money like this, that has to open up everybody's eyes. And you have to look at your franchise and say, well, if they're doing it, what's going on here? Why are we balking at an extra $10 million over 10 years? Like, why are we missing out on these free agents over nominal amounts of money relatively? You have to ask these questions of these different franchises. My own Minnesota Twins, I love you guys. But you could have had Carlos Correa if you just stepped it up a little bit.
Right.
We saw that. He went from 13,345 to 12, whatever this one is. Twins could have got there. Yeah. I think they were close, but like sometimes you just got to spend a little bit more. You got to get out of your comfort zone. And boy, oh boy, Uncle Steve is making these owners uncomfortable.
When Aaron Judge signed, one of the things I said to Yankees fans, which nobody was actually mad, but it's the internet. But, when his, what was it, 9 for 360? Is that his final number?
Judge, yeah.
Yeah, 9 for 360. I was like, well, if you were comfortable with the 302 or 300 that had been rumored, you're talking over 9 years. It's like $6.5 million per year. Like, you're really going to worry about your team's payroll that intensely, especially Yankee fans, which no one cares. Let's talk some Giants, Trev, and that part's talking about the DraftKings Sportsbook because they got to start making some different bets, and I'm very interested to see what they're going to do.
What if you placed your bet on the Giants to win, a certain amount of games? You get the money back, right?
If that ticket cashes, that ticket cashes. But yeah, that's might be a loser now. You can bet $5 on any NFL team. Only 3 weeks left, NFL regular season. My goodness, games are on Saturday. Like
Congrats
so
to you,
many
by the way.
games. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook, $5 on any NFL team to win and get $150 in free bets if they do. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code JOHNBOY. Place a $5 bet on any NFL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code JOHNBOY. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. Trev, the Giants, what do you do? All the big free agents are gone. This was Aaron Judge, the local kid. You end up getting outbid by the Padres. All right, you brought in Correa. We kind of loved it. Didn't know what the medicals said, but, I mean, a pillar at shortstop. That's what we said. You could plan around Correa for the next decade and go figure it out. Now, I don't know, man. It's a funky roster.
Yeah, and it's an interesting thing for Giants fans because, I'm around quite a few out here, and the way their attitude is you'll mention the Dodgers, and they're like, oh, yeah, Dodgers, great. They've won all these division titles. How many trophies they got in that time? Oh, they got the one COVID season. We got 3 in the last, whatever it is, 12 years. They'll always mention that. And it's right. I mean, they had a nice run, and they've been a good franchise, and they won 107 games last year, 2 years ago. But where they're at now, I mean, you can't keep referencing 10, 12, and 14 because those are getting further and further away. And I know the front office was making a bid to bring in a star, and you got, for lack of a better term, dry hump twice. So now you're sitting there, and you're looking at this roster, and it's not a roster that's going to compete for the NL West. It's not. As currently constructed right now, I know they brought in some guys that I really like. But I think for the most part, they're complementary pieces, and we were looking for a game-changing talent to go there, and there's none left right now in the free agent world. Conforto, who didn't even play last year, right? So
nobody knows.
I don't think he's a franchise changer the way that a Correa or a Judge would be. So it's back to the drawing board, and now they're going to have to figure out where they go. I mean, now, if you're a Giants fan, you're like kind of what Dodgers fans are thinking. Are we just reloading and just saying, fuck, we're waiting for Shohei? Because I think that's what teams are thinking now. If you were going to go spend that money and you missed out, well, you better be in on Shohei. And guess what? Guess what his deal is going to be? It's going to be $500 million. It is.
Yeah.
So be ready to step up.
I mean,
if you're a Giants fan, you have to say, this is what we're going to hang our hat on. We're going to go with Shohei next offseason.
And
unless they do something drastic through trade or whatever, this is not a roster that's going to compete in the NL West, not against the Dodgers and the Padres.
Teams currently in on Shohei Ohtani. Angels, Dodgers. You think the Mets won't be rumored? Uncle Steve? Are you kidding me? You think the Yankees won't be rumored? I mean,
the Red Sox have missed out on every free agent too. The Red Sox fans better be outside with signs saying Shohei, Shohei, show me Shohei.
I know it's too early to fast forward to next free agency, but it's going to be Shohei all of next year. Machado has that opt out. There's been some rumors if he. I guess that's the thing. If I'm a Giants fan, I'm happy that I do have a front office that wants to make the big move, that wants to bring in the superstar and wants to do that. You just thought it was going to be this year, and now it feels like you're going to have another feeler year. Like what's Mitch Haniger going to be? What's Jock Peterson signed the qualifying offer. Competing with the Dodgers and the Padres out west right now is tough. And it just feels like you're going to have another feel it out. And what is Lamont Wade over a full season? What is Tyro Estrada? What are some of these guys? And next free agency, they're probably going to land a big dude. Know who's a free agent next year? Your guy, Matt Chapman, Trev. there's going to be dudes next year, but I think as a Giants fan, you thought you had Judge, you thought you had Correa, and now, I mean, they're a franchise that a couple years ago won 108 games, 107, whatever it was, and the roster didn't look crazy different. Couple guys. You believe in what your team's doing. You like Gabe. You like the front office. But, man, it feels like your dream scenario at this point is the third wild card. Like, I don't know.
Dude, I mean, only so often does everything line up the way it did for the Giants in 2021, where, you stay relatively healthy, guys have career years, everyone kind of meshes up, you're winning close games. That was kind of like best case scenario, and that rarely ever happens for a team. Like, you're going to have to stave off injuries, you're going to have to go through times where guys are just not having their best years. So to be able to rely on that, or to think that you're going to rely on that, like best case scenario, super optimistic about the roster, it just doesn't happen all the time. So you could think like, hey, this roster, if it all shakes out right, we can compete. It's like, well, it ain't always going to shake out right. And if you don't have a surplus of talent, or a guy like a Judge who can carry you, like he carried the Yankees last second half, like you need those guys on your roster at some point. And they don't have it right now. It's tough. I'll say this about Giants fans. You're right. They have to be happy that they do have a front office that's trying to make a big splash. But trying's only so good, man. Like, you got to get it done.
Right.
And like, if you're a Giants fan, are you like saying, what doctor is this?
Right?
Can we
what happened?
What doctor? Who are you? Who's the Mets doctors?
Right? Is he going to clear that? Like, we can't even dream of that, because maybe that's going to be next week's episode. Correa to the Twins.
Correa, oh my God. He's like, I guess I got to go back to Minnesota.
Contract goes back up to 370. I don't know. You wonder what information comes out about this. Is it the back? What else could it be? And I mean, Trev, I guess it's the part that's being ignored to this, and we'll see where we're at 5 years with the San Francisco Giants. But if in 5 years Carlos Correa has annual back injuries, or his knees messed up, or his shoulder, I have no clue. But doctors said don't play this guy. I don't know.
I don't think they said don't play this guy. I think they said, well, we see this, and maybe in this fourth year this could flare up and blah blah blah. It's like, you know what? I don't think Steve Cohen cares about that. I think Steve Cohen cares about the next 3 years.
Yeah.
Like, he basically promised a World Series, and you cannot run your team thinking about, oh, well, these guys might get hurt. What? You can't do that. You put the best team on the field that you can. And you understand there's going to be some years in this 12-year deal where Carlos Correa might be banged up a little bit. That's every fucking player on the planet, bro. 12 years of clean health? It doesn't happen. Like, you have to be realistic about this. When you give a guy 12 years, you're not expecting 12 banger years. You want like 4 or 5 banger years, about 3 or 4 years that are really good, and then try to be serviceable the rest of the way. That's the bottom line, dude. And you're giving yourself a chance now. Their time is now. I mentioned the age of this roster. It's perfect. It's set up. Enough youth, enough experience. I like it. And it's hard. I'm looking now. And this is a big statement because there's some good teams in the NL. And we still have to do our TPPs. We really dig down into these rosters. But this Mets roster is on the top tier in the NL.
Wow.
It is. I mean, who's above them?
I don't know. I still like the Braves a lot. Dodgers feel like they still have.
I believe Braves are top tier. I believe the Dodgers are top tier. I believe the freaking New York Mets are top tier.
Padres,
yeah, top tier.
Phillies.
I have to look at that. I think the
bigger statement, Trev, is we're going to be coastal elitists all next year, man. Because that's Dodgers, Padres, Phillies, Mets, Braves.
Those, you know what, Midwest. I don't know what to tell you.
Cardinals, go do your BS move where you bring in Brian Reynolds and you give him a 12-year contract.
Oh my God.
And he's the next guy.
I'm not saying they have the best roster in the National League, but they are on the top tier.
You're top
tier. And boy, oh boy, like, is the National League so much deeper than the American League?
It's a good argument for it. We were saying that last playoffs a lot. Trev, speaking of your American League, there's some topics that we've been pushing things down because the baseball cycle, credit to baseball a little bit, right? Since winter meetings, baseball's been hot in the streets. We had a couple episodes leading up to winter meetings that were like, hey, I hope baseball goes and there's not some CBA crap we missed that nobody's going to sign. Mm-hmm. And it's been nuts since. We still haven't done Benny. We still haven't done really like a Dodgers, Red Sox talk. I think where we want to go is hopping over to the AL. And speaking of coastal elitists to a degree, the Toronto Blue Jays, Chris Bassitt, who are they East Coast? Do they count?
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right.
Right? They gotta be.
They play against
there's like
East
a bay
Coast
there. I know there's like a bay in Toronto.
There's a lot of lakes.
That's
they
an
have
ocean.
they have a coast.
The Blue Jays, Trev,
okay.
And maybe we could tie it because they brought in two guys. One is your guy, an alpha of all alphas, Kevin Kiermaier, 1 year, $9 million.
Go Purdue, go.
Chris Bassitt, another Trev guy, actually.
Yeah.
Guys on different wavelengths from everything
My
you've
fingerprints
told me.
are all over.
Trev's Blue Jays. They brought in Bassitt, which, again, if you're going back into the starting pitching market that was available, I think he's got an argument to be one of the top 4 or 5 guys that were out there. Toronto brings him in. You got to love the fit. At the time, we said, talked about Toronto tax a little bit because normally you got to pay a guy a little more. In this free agency, I mean, it looks absolutely fine. And, man, I haven't looked at this in a while. Manoah, Gossman, Barrios, Bassitt. Your fingerprints are all over this team,
all
Trev.
Over it.
I guess the interesting thing is we thought there was going to be a big swing somewhere in this Blue Jays lineup. They traded Teoscar. It hasn't happened yet. You obviously love Kiermaier defensively and what he can do out there. But, right now they have him slotted in the 9 hole. So I guess where are you at with these Jays signings, and do you think there's more coming?
We always talk about how right-handed they are, and we thought they probably would try to address that with the Teoscar trade. Doesn't seem like they really care too much, or they're not just going to do it just to do it. They want the right people there. So, if you're looking at the lineup, we obviously love the lineup. These guys can bang. The starting rotation, like on paper, I love it. I think that, again, I'm a Barrios truther, and he just didn't really have it last year. Like, I hope he bounces back, because if you do Manoah, Gossman, and Bassitt, that's a really, really nice top 3. And then Kikuchi and Barrios are kind of the wild cards. Those guys can be really good. They can be a very, very good 4 and 5. Then you're talking about a very deep rotation. The Blue Jays roster is really good. It hasn't changed a ton. KK being in center field and allowing Springer to move to left, I guess.
He usually shifts over to right.
To right? That's right. Okay. We'll see how that plays out. I love KK, and what he can do on the defensive side. And I guess they don't need extra offense out there, and they're playing that game. Hey, let's go have some boys run it down out there in the outfield, and we have enough scoring potential in our offense already. So I like the roster a lot. I do. I think that this last year was supposed to be the movie. Maybe this year will be the sequel, a better sequel. Sometimes the sequel is better than the movie. Doesn't happen often, but it can happen, Jake. So we're looking for that in Toronto. The roster is really good. I even like the bullpen. I think they could add another bullpen piece, and that'd be really nice. But they're up there. They're up there in the AL East. I mean, you could make an argument that they have the best roster in the AL East.
It feels just off. And by the way, the world of baseball and how quickly it moves, Springer, we now associate him with the Blue Jays. Matt Chapman, your hot corner for the Blue Jays.
Love him.
The bottom 2 in this lineup now are currently listed as Whit Merrifield and Kevin Kiermaier.
I forgot that Whit Merrifield was over
right?
there.
So, Blue Jays, it feels like there's a move to be had. Are they in on Brian Reynolds? Are they in on?
They got all those catchers. We keep saying, are you going to trade one of these catchers?
It feels like they're a move away. And man, I don't want Blue Jays fans to take this as kicking them when they're down. I know they were one of the last teams in on Jose Ramirez before he re-upped with Cleveland. Remember when all that was happening? They were debating if they were going to trade or sign him. How perfect would that dude be on this team? Hey, Matt Chapman's a pretty nice payoff too. But I wonder what's next for them, because it feels like it's got to be a trade. They have assets. They're so right-handed. They're so talented. They're in a window, man. Manoah, Gossman, and then whoever breaks between Barrios, Bassitt, who Bassitt probably shouldn't even be compared to Barrios and Kikuchi for how good he's been in recent years. I don't know. It's kind of a what's next, because if they roll this roster into next season, we're gonna be excited. There's a ton of talent, like you're saying, but yeah, Jansen, Kirk, Gabriel Moreno, what happens there? And
I think that's gonna happen. I think it has to happen.
In the words of Joe's McFly, you buying or you selling? I guess I don't even know who's selling a big lefty bat. Like every team needs that.
I think that catchers, especially guys that they have, these guys can all hit. And if you're a team that's looking for offense and a way to, find some value in your roster, it's like, let's go get a good hitting catcher. And they have 3 of them. They can get rid of one of them and bring somebody else in. I think we will see that before the season. I think that's almost a foregone conclusion. Now, who it's going to be, I don't know. Is it going to be Kirk? Is it going to be Jansen? I don't think they trade Gabriel Moreno because he's got so much control left that you'd probably want to keep him. And that could be your move, whether that's to bring in a bullpen guy or whether that's to bring in some sort of left-handed balance in the lineup. We'll see. I don't know. What position are you looking to upgrade in that lineup with a left-handed bat?
Yeah, I mean,
like an outfielder.
In my head, it's been outfield.
A DH type.
I don't know if you want to pencil in Kiermaier every day. I think he's a guy that plays a lot. I mean, I think George Springer in recent years, if they could get him off his feet here and there, they moved Teoscar Hernandez. It was my Eddie Rosario theory. Like, rack up guys who have good stats. Hey, awesome. Good for you. Teoscar Hernandez was always in the middle of that line. Like, I think there's something more impactful. Eddie Rosario, when he was on the Twins, and he'd have basically an 800 OPS on the nose every year, he was batting third. It wasn't Eddie Rosario in the 6th hole or 7th hole, like kind of behind guys. Like, you were game planning for Eddie Rosario. He was there. Teoscar was kind of the same. There was bigger dudes in front of him. But they still have to replace that void that was kind of left by him. And hey, I hope Danny Jansen broke out last year. The stats are pretty nutty. But right now, the bottom of that lineup, Whit Merrifield's he hasn't been the Whit Merrifield we remember from some of those big Kansas City years. Kiermaier, obviously, he does it on the other side, and he does it amazing on the other side. Lourdes Gurriel, he had a solid year last year, I guess. I don't know. The second half of that lineup, if you give me the lefty or switch hitter in the middle of this lineup and you slide everyone down a spot, you love the Blue Jays. Right now, it just feels like it feels a trade away. And I wonder, it's got to be with like another contender, right? Because a lot of the lesser teams, I don't know if there's dudes that are really being shopped.
Josh Bell would have been a great fit for this team. Kind of rotate him and Vladdy there at the DH. He can play first, but mainly he'd be thumping in your lineup for you. Obviously, they missed out on him, but something of that effect. I think that's what the Blue Jays would need. Some left-handed thump.
Max Kepler, he's been rumored in trade talks. Could he be
interesting
there?
It's interesting. Okay. There's a lot of ways they could go. I believe it's going to be one of the catchers. And even if it doesn't happen, this is already a very good roster.
Yeah.
Dude, Bo Bichette's stats, people they just need to go look.
Yeah.
Like, even with a semi-down year last year, but I mean, I don't know if you really even want to call it a down year last year. He still had an 802 OPS. Go find you some shortstops that have 802 OPSs. Not many of them. Okay. Career. He's at an 831. This guy's a banger. He's only 24 years old.
Bobichet's
He's been around
24.
forever. He's got 4 big league seasons already.
It's ridiculous.
Yes.
He might have a payday coming. Sheesh. Trev, we're in a weird part of the year where we want to save a couple boxes. I know Benintendi's kind of a big one. There's a Dodgers conversation. Turner. I guess what we want to check off a couple of the boxes, but we still have a couple more offseason episodes coming up. So I guess what's speaking to you? I see Brantley, Taijuan Walker, Brandon Drury to the Angels, our guy.
I said we can kind of quick hit it. I mean, the Dodgers and Red Sox kind of coincide. They've been trade partners as of late, and now they go JD Martinez goes to the Dodgers on that 1-year 10, and Turner goes from the Dodgers to the Red Sox on a 2-year 22. I think it's an interesting storyline there. The way these two teams have gone the last couple of years, the Red Sox are missing out on all the free agents as well. Let's go Dodgers here because they also signed Noah Syndergaard, 1-year deal, $13 million. There's another $1.5 million in incentives. But the JD Martinez deal is cool for a couple reasons. I think people have already been talking about this, but Rob Van Scoyoc, their hitting coach there, was JD's guy who kind of helped JD flourish. Him and Miggy working together. But Rob is reunited with this is kind of the guy I feel like put Van Scoyoc and Craig Wallenbrock kind of on the map. They turned this guy into an absolute monster. And I think it's really cool for JD to go back and have this guy every single day. So if you want to go to DraftKings and look at some JD Martinez offensive numbers, like preseason stuff, I would bank on some of those going over because I think Rob's going to get him locked in, and we might see a really good offensive year from JD Martinez.
The Dodgers, man. Yeah, JD Martinez, I mean, he's a hitter. It sounds dumb, but also being a DH is kind of a skill, and this guy's been mostly a DH for a little bit now. And I think you slot him in there. Right now they have the Dodgers lineup listed as Betts, Freeman, Will Smith, Muncy, JD Martinez, Gavin Lux sneaking in there. Yeah, it's funny, Turner in and JD Martinez, and like you said, Boston and Dodgers have been talked about for a few years now between the Mookie trade. It sounded like Boston, Turner, the fact that he'll be able to play some defensive days there, that I think that's kind of where they made their decision, or that's what I saw Boston people saying.
It's a great deal for Boston. Justin Turner can still do it out there, man. He's like another one of these guys that just kind of gets like, is he going to go away anytime soon? Turner's a ball player, dude. That dude's a baseball rat. I love that move for Boston.
He, obviously the red with the Red Sox, that's going to be cool. Happy for everyone there. He went nuts the second half of last season because Trev,
the numbers ended up in a fine spot overall, but like people forget, I guess don't forget, but he was such a bad start and got hot the rest of the way. Like he was
one of
so
the
good.
best hitters in baseball the second half of the season. I just butter-knifed these. The last 59 regular season games, 349, 419, 968 OPS. He'll have the monster to play some wall ball out there with. And yeah, one of Jake's theories of sports, do what the other team doesn't want you to do. Justin Turner's a guy I don't want to see at the plate in a big at bat.
No, he's going to give you a great at bat.
That's a guy that wins big at bats.
Ooh, that could be a Yankees crusher right there.
I mean, with the hair and the beard right now, are you kidding me?
I was going to say, Vasquez has a little ginge in him.
Yeah.
And he played it off nicely there. I think people in Boston are going to absolutely love Justin Turner. He fits that mold, like a little dirty. He's got the pine tar all over his jersey. He's got the beard. He is like an anti-Yankees guy. Like just kind of a rat, dirty. Like he reminds me of like that 04 Boston Red Sox type of guy, dude. Just a dirt ball player. I love it, man. But also very rich.
Also very rich, has done well. Red Sox lineup is fun. Yoshida, Story, Devers, Turner, Verdugo, Kike, Casas, Arroyo, and then right now they've got Reese McGuire and Connor Wong as their catching platoon. The rotation right now is Sale, Pivetta, Whitlock, Paxton, Bayo. I'm not normally the injury guy, but with Sale and Paxton's history, and I mean even Whitlock's been a reliever and Bayo's a kid. Still a lot of what's going on there. I like the moves they did in the bullpen with Jansen and Martin. Yeah. We thought the Red Sox were going to get one of the big dogs. Their lineup is sneaky better than I thought. I mean, looking at a Justin Turner in the middle there, and if Trevor Story with a year in the division, I don't know what Yoshida is.
Pretty top heavy.
Feels a little top heavy right now, and you wonder what the other moves are there. Evaldi, is he coming back? I don't know. I think everyone kind of knows where I stand with the Sox at this point. I mean, compared to Yanks, Jays, and Rays, I still think they're behind them. We'll see where the Orioles land, a team that did finish ahead of the Red Sox last year.
I can't even think about the Rays right now. Like, my mind is not ready to process a Tampa Bay Rays roster. It's just not.
It's not the Rays' time of year. Free agency isn't when they do their business.
We shouldn't even do a TPP for the Tampa Bay Rays. Yeah. We'll wait until August to do it. Like, oh, okay, this is what they did.
We'll do an introduce everyone to who the Rays actually are this year, instead of guessing what Jonathan Aranda is going to be this season. Dodgers, Trev, do they have a big move coming, or do they believe? Because, we mentioned Syndergaard quick. Their rotation, Kershaw, Urias, Gonsolin, Syndergaard, May. Guess what? I would bet pretty good money that they get good results from that crew, because you got some names, you got a coaching staff and an organization that all they have done is pitch. Number 1 ERA last year from their starting pitchers.
They got a couple guys at the upper level minor leagues they might be calling upon. I mean, that's what they've done so well. They've been able to have a farm system that they can draw from. Now, yes, are they going to enter free agency? Yes. Are they going to trade? Yes. But having that in your back pocket, we have this great farm system. We can just bring somebody up. That's what propels you to all these division titles year in and year out. That's what lets you be competitive to the max, is when you're able to have 3 resources to draw from and not just 2 or 1. Like, they have a lot of different areas they can pull from, and they do it, and that's why they've been so good. I like that starting rotation. And there's a little bit of injury history there, and some, I would say, I don't know if they call them question marks. And we've seen these guys all perform at an elite level, all of them at an elite level in the big leagues. Now, are we going to get that from them next year? Probably not all of them, but there's enough depth there that you really like the rotation. You still really like the lineup, and we just know the Dodgers are going to be there. You pencil them in or pen them in to the playoffs for sure, and then we'll see what goes.
Just a reminder, Tony Gonsolin's ERA last year, 2.14. Julio Urias, 2.16. Clayton Kershaw, the high of those 3 at 2.28.
Is this the year we see like a full Gavin Lux breakout? It sounds like he's going to be the shortstop there, and you're going to get a full run of this guy. He's 25 years old.
Right.
People have been writing this dude off. Like, how many at-bats does he have now in the big leagues? He's got 894. Like, you're starting to get eyeballs on pitches. You're starting to see the game. Like, he had some really, really good stretches last year. You're starting to see the game for what it is. You're starting to, when you're a young hitter, there are times when you're just like overmatched a little bit and the game speeds up on you. But, as time goes on and you see the pitches and you're in these moments, this guy's been in big moments for the Dodgers. Everything starts to slow down. And then you can just play the game. That's the big thing when you get to that point in your career where you're like, okay, like, I've seen a fucking slider. Your slider isn't going to be any better than the sliders I've seen. Or your fastball at the top of the zone, I've seen those before. And like, you just learn how to play at the big league level, because it can be very intimidating, and you're doing it every single day. And it's like the ocean, bro. It's coming whether you want it or not. The tide is rising every single day. And sometimes it feels like you're drowning. But sometimes you're surfing that shit. You're shacked in the green room, grabbing the rail. Gavin Lux is going to get barreled this year. Mark my words.
I'd buy a little Gavin Lux all-star stock, but like if the numbers go up and being in LA, there's a formula.
Isn't he from like Wyoming or something? Wisconsin, even better. Same. Yes, give me some Gavin Lux glow up LA Hollywood shit. I love it.
Show cut. Yeah, I my biggest thing walking away from this is like, you believe in the Dodgers. You have to. They were first in ERA last year, first in starting pitching, second in bullpen ERA. They were number 1 hitting OPS team. They've got it figured out. They have the names at the top. It just feels odd for me, a Dodgers team coming into the season with how the Padres just loaded up, that, you know, the bottom third of their lineup right now is Trace Thompson, Chris Taylor, with, you know, that feels right. And then James Outman, who's a 25-year-old prospect for them. It feels like there's a Dodgers move. You just got to wonder, is it a corner outfielder that's going to get some run for them? Is it, are they going to be in the trade game? Is there a retool in there with like, thinking about if Toronto had to trade with a contender for a second, I did like, Max Muncy to Toronto, Matt Chapman to the Dodgers. Does that, I don't know.
That's not a trade that the Blue Jays would make. I mean, because I think Muncy doesn't have too much control left either. Where's he at? And yeah, he's a free agent after this year.
So they're both.
So is Chapman, I guess.
Both free agents after this year. So I mean, you'd have to tweak around it a little bit, but I don't know that. I don't know. I think we're going to probably get 2 trades this offseason that are going to jar us, that are like contender to contender, that there's not a lot of really good players on lesser teams that need to be traded. Like even Brian Reynolds, like the Pirates literally came out and were like, no, we like him a lot and we have him for 3 years. No.
What is Brian Reynolds' mindset like? Is he just like, what the fuck? Yeah, I'm good. Yep, people want me.
Yeah.
But we're sort of on the subject. Max Muncy does have a club option for $10 million after this year. So
it's like he's got this girlfriend. He doesn't want to be with her anymore. And she doesn't really treat him that well, to be honest with you. And all these other girls are like, hey, like we love you.
Right.
Like, we treat you right. And he's like, oh, well, that'd be nice. I'd like to be treated right.
Love.
But his girlfriend says no. That's not a great analogy, but I just think of Brian Reynolds kind of being a little sad.
And just a reminder,
I don't like that.
When we talk about the Mets and circling back to Uncle Steve and the Dodgers and some of the contracts we've seen, and Brian Reynolds, who is an all-star center fielder, switch hitter. Maybe he has to move to the corner, but he's been a really great ball player. The biggest contract the Pittsburgh Pirates have ever given out is $70 million. Brian Hayes. So
kind of love him.
It's got to be a little bizarre playing for the Pirates, knowing that if you do your thing right for a good year, there's no chance you play there. I don't know. Give me some contender shake-up trades. Maybe comment some below and we'll dig into them. Otherwise, Trev, it's kind of the holiday season, baby.
Ooh. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever holiday you celebrate. I love all the holidays.
We love holidays. Check out everything on John Boy Media. We just did a fun holiday video that was actually very funny. Shay Station's probably...
Jake sucks.
Shay Station might have a big episode.
It's out.
It's
At
out.
The time we're recording.
There's this game on our Warehouse channel.
Oh,
you want to check it out.
Yeah.
You want to check it out.
Floorball. Check out Floorball and Warehouse games. See Blitzball too, I guess.
I like Floorball.